Super. Thank you very much, Alan, and thank you, Jim, for an amazing speech about the future of AI. And what I wanted to start with, Melanie, is leadership. And I think that, well, I know that AI is a priority for Dow. It's a CEO-level priority. Would you describe how it was established as a priority at Dow? And I understand you had an AI immersion session with the leadership team. Tell us about Dow. Tell us how you got there.
Sure. Thanks for having me here, Ed. And I would say for anyone in the audience here, if you're just getting started or if you're moving forward but hitting a wall and not accelerating, like we just heard Jim talk about, you have to understand that this has to start at the top. Your CEO has to be engaged and has to be promoting what you're doing from an AI standpoint. And I partnered with our CEO at Dow, and we co-sponsored an AI immersion session where we invited the top 250 people across Dow to come together in a in-person and virtual, so it was a hybrid session. We kicked it off with the CEO doing a keynote on the possibilities for AI, why it was important for our company, a 128-year-old manufacturing company, to look at AI. Even though we've been leveraging AI for a couple decades in the company, we've been doing it in pockets, doing it in our silos. And this was all about how do we come together across the company and leverage AI for the improvement of the company. And we invited a couple external speakers in to share their expertise. And of course, we had Jim Snabe join us. I had been at the C3 AI conference a couple years ago and heard Jim speak, and we've got a long relationship with Jim at Dow. He actually did a little ABAP coding for us back in the day, way back in the day.
Must have been way back, huh?
But we brought Jim in. We brought an executive from Microsoft in to speak as well. So we only picked 2 external speakers, but they really set the stage for the possibilities. And then we spent, half of the session in ideation. We broke people up into tables. We had virtual tables. We had in-the-room tables. And it was about generating ideas. We had multiple functions, multiple businesses. How could we come together and really do something different for the company? We generated over 200 ideas out of that session. Wow. We had a cross-functional, cross-business team that really assessed those ideas. We bubbled them up to about 20, and then we took the top 5 and went after them. So, I think you have to, like I said, you have to have your CEO engaged. This has to come from the top. You can't do it from the bottom of the organization. And, there are endless possibilities out there, and it's about picking the right ones. So we go after the money. We like talking about going after the money when we focus on the AI solutions.
So it's a high value use cases, and everybody from the executive leadership team is on board, understands the implications, et cetera. So
absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Dayan, would you talk a little bit about your team and Microsoft's approach to transformation? Specifically manufacturing and mobility. How do you all engage with partners and customers like Dow to basically accelerate and unlock value?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. It's a really good question, and I want to go back to what Jim mentioned, clarity and focusing on what really matters. That's key for us. We are a technology company, but when we engage with customers in their AI journey, we focus on creating that clarity. We bring our domain expertise. We obviously combine it with our technology capabilities to create a blueprint. The blueprint that is required not only from ideation and technology, but also for implementation. Nowadays, change management is even more important for the success of a project than the actual technology. And that's actually our focus. Of course, we combine the capabilities that we have in our technology, as I mentioned, with key partners like C3 AI. And obviously, an advantage that we get by working with C3 is the wealth of applications. So again, we begin creating the blueprint, and we are going to meet the customer where they need to be met based on their business objectives. It might not necessarily be in manufacturing. It might be in an adjacent function like procurement, et cetera. We create, again, we bet the reference architecture. It's obviously supported by our infrastructure, but we bring the right technology partner, and we stay with the customer end to end. Of course, we are able, by doing this, we are able to provide a solution that is flexible, open. We were talking about open architecture, scalable, because it's very important. In order to really realize the value of AI, we can't just be focusing on one particular use case. It's not going to generate enough ROI to justify the investment. And it also has to, we had to focus on use cases that provide enterprise impact. And the next step is the most important one, which is how do we do it securely and responsible? In order to actually realize the value of AI, we need to obtain data. And that data needs to come from multiple areas of the enterprise. It can be from the operational technologies. It might be sharing data with vendors. And of course, that's needed, but it needs to be done in a secure manner. There is data that is sensitive, and of course, it needs to be shared, but with a little bit of guardrails in the mix. Of course, once again, going back to the point that Jim was making about teaming up for success, working with a technology partner like C3, it makes things a lot easier for us.
Super. Thank you for that. Now, Jim talked about specialized AI agents. Melanie, one of the projects we're working on, both Microsoft and C3 AI with you, DAO, is basically to improve reliability of steam crackers. And this is not just a CEO, but level CEO, COO level priority. Jim Fitterling basically talked about it at your investor day recently. You all had, as I understand it, kind of a leadership conference with 3,500 leaders of DAO to talk about this with the objective of basically reducing unplanned downtime by, I understand, 20%, which is significant given that Dow is the world leader in operating these types of equipment. And so getting another 20% improvement is amazing. So can you talk a little bit about that, that project and how you're all tackling it and thinking about it?
Sure, thanks, Ed. And
maybe start with a steam cracker. What is it?
Yeah, true. Not everybody may know what a steam cracker is, but you know, we operate in 31 countries. We manufacture in 31 countries. We supply to high-end markets in plastics, infrastructure, mobility, and consumer products and solutions. And these steam crackers are our most critical assets. I mean, they're at the front of everything we do. So we didn't start with the easiest thing. We started with where the money is, where our most important thing is. And like you said, we run these. We're best in class in running these steam crackers. But we also know that if we can inch out a little bit more productivity, if we can have higher asset utilization on those crackers, it's gold. Like I said, we need to go where the money is. So, you know, we're working with C3. We're using the reliability application. You know, we've implemented right now at 38 of our furnaces. You saw Tom's chart that he showed. We're going to accelerate that implementation. So we have about 160 more to go. But, you know, we've got a great partnership with C3. We partner with Microsoft as well to make that happen. And you can imagine how excited I was when C3 and Microsoft announced their partnership, because it's like, okay, we picked a couple winners here, and we're going to, you know, continue to work with them, and just love seeing your partnership come together and the value working together you guys bring. But, you know, the opportunity is huge, like you said. You know, we're helping our engineers really be able to focus on, you know, running those assets well, because we're able to, you know, identify issues. We're able to reduce downtime. Reduce downtime, higher utilization, better reliability also equates to better sustainability, better safety. I mean, if you're not in there fixing things and things are running smoothly, you're avoiding some things that could could cause a safety issue, and
Right.
you're improving your sustainability. So there's huge opportunity here.
Massive. And I understand the cracker is just the beginning, and there's more extension, if you will, you could cross not just the furnaces, but the cracker units and then the polyethylene plants. So
Absolutely.
maybe-
I mean,
yeah.
Tom showed the chart where we're, expanding across all of our furnaces, but even within a cracker, we could go to, some rotating equipment. We could go to improving and understanding what's going on in the quench towers. So there's stuff we can do within the crackers we've already implemented, as well as implementing the next set of crackers.
Beyond that. That's
next
great.
set of furnaces.
Thank you for that. Dayan, can you talk a little bit about your impression of C3 AI for a moment, and how you're partnering with us in your sector, manufacturing and mobility?
Yeah, so far really excited about the opportunity to partner with C3. Obviously, I've been in the space for 20 years and worked with you in the past. Always impressed by the technology. But the key here, one thing I want to highlight, and Tom was mentioning in the early remarks, when you look at manufacturers and when you want to define operational excellence, companies that are leading, and when it comes down to digital transformation, their maturity is really high. Dow is one of those companies. And thank you, Melanie, for your support and sponsorship. So coming in with a solution that is a net adder to that level of excellence is something to be impressed by. And that's what we're seeing with C3. Not only do you have a wealth of applications that can be spread out across the enterprise, we're already discussing other use cases, but also the level of sophistication of the application allows for the ROI to be felt very quickly, which is important. Again, I mentioned I've been in digital transformation for a long time. 10 years ago, the biggest challenge was, how do I get out of pilot purgatory? How do I get out from this area in which I am trying an idea, and number one, the execution is not going well, but number two, I don't get enough ROI. With C3, we're seeing that that's obviously getting to ROI, the time is minimized, and again, something to be really excited about. So that's how we see it.
Yeah, pre-built applications, deploy it, hook it up to your data, and get value quickly is great. So
It is important. I would add, though, that it's hard. I mean,
yes.
This AI space is not like implementing a transaction system and being able to show that ROI. You have to have the fortitude to stick with this.
Sure.
And the payoff is big if you do.
Yeah.
But you have to work with your business hand in hand. It can't be an IT mandate. You have to get the business involved. You have to have the engineers involved. They have to trust the models. You have to tune the models. You have to work at this. It's not like a transaction system where you have a well-planned weekend and an implementation and everybody has to use it the next day. But the payoff is big if you can stick with it.
That's a good point. So the application's pre-built, that's proven.
Yes.
And now you can focus on getting the business, your hydrocarbons, operations and engineering team.
Your data.
From the
visible.
transaction systems and Microsoft and C3 AI teams working together to go tackle the problem and keep improving as you deploy. So,
Absolutely.
that's great. Can we maybe switch gears, Melanie, and talk a little bit about employer worker turnover at these sites? And that is something that almost all industrial companies are experiencing. And maybe just talk a little bit about how you're thinking about generative AI in the context of worker turnover, so you can actually help the next generation workers come up to speed, troubleshoot more quickly, et cetera, in these very complex industrial environments.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a good point. I mean, I think our numbers at Dow, we've been saying that over 40% of our employees have been with the company for less than 5 years. So we've had, pretty massive turnover over the last few years. And, you go from being a company with this deep knowledge and expertise, and now you've got this big new workforce to train. And we've been using technology to help with that. Partnering with Microsoft, we were one of the very early users of Copilot. And we actually have implemented Copilot to several thousand employees in the company. And our objective was, not to just look at how much more productive are they, or, how are they using it. Our objective was to start using that to train employees to be comfortable with generative AI. So get that in front of them, get them using it so they can be more comfortable as we get into these more specific applications of generative AI. And we're again working with C3 AI to deploy a lot of your pre-built applications, because why would we go build all these applications ourselves if they're out there and they're proven and they're working? Our objective now, and not that we haven't built a lot of this stuff in the past, but again, our objective now is to use these models from C3 AI, leverage the partnership with Microsoft as well, to implement this across our organization. And now our engineers can start chatting with, looking for documentation, looking for procedures on how to do something. It's a very different world that a new engineer comes into than what kind of the prior DAO looked like. And that's because of these technologies that we're leveraging.
Do I need to decoke this coil?
Exactly.
How do I decoke the coil? How do I troubleshoot this issue? So all of this integrating both manuals as well as sensor data off of these complex plants. Pretty exciting times there. Can you talk a little bit about other, I'll use Jim's term, specialized AI agents? We've focused on predictive maintenance, so you can extend run lives and drive really kind of low-cost product, if you will. What are the other areas, Melanie, that you're thinking about specialized agents to drive value for DAO?
Yeah, we've been working, again, both with C3 AI, but directly with Microsoft on developing some agents. One that we've talked about recently quite a bit is our freight cost optimization agent that we're building with Microsoft to really look at the high cost of freight and the errors in freight invoices, finding the things that we're getting charged for that we shouldn't be charged for, but there's so many freight invoices, and the amount of data from what's actually happening to what's being invoiced to what was in the contract. There's too much data for a simple mind to get around all of that, and we're using agents to help us find those issues, and then a person will go in and investigate a specific area. But as well, there's other, the generative AI that C3 has integrated into your products, your applications now. We've been working with that for our engineers to, like I said, to be able to query, how do I, real time, show me the procedure, or what is the next step that I need to follow. We're seeing a 90% and above hit rate on accuracy through the generative AI that we're using in the reliability module. We're also leveraging the model, to be able to do this. I think everybody understands you have to have a solid base of data to be able to do any of this. And we're leveraging the models to build out our asset hierarchies, to be able to go, from site to site to implement the AI solutions from C3. So
that's a great point to touch on, which is the language models rely on kind of a digital representation of the physical plant, so to speak, to make sense of, to answer questions accurately, et cetera. And the asset hierarchy capability that, Melanie, you're talking about is really to take, PNID or schematics of the site, digitize those, map the sensors, and doing that in days instead of months.
Absolutely. It's really improved our ability to do this at speed.
Yeah, and so you digitize it quickly and then basically start to put the agentic layer on top of it so you can reason on that and drive improvement. I remember when you visited us several years ago, Melanie, because it's only been a couple of years that we've been engaged in this, and you saw all of the AI applications that we've built, and you basically said, I think your reaction was, I want to implement all of these.
Yeah,
supply
big
chain,
appetite, yeah.
customer engagement, et cetera. So
Yeah.
maybe talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Like you said, there is a breadth of applications there.
Yeah.
And, we have been doing some things prior to working with C3. So we've got our forecasting and planning capabilities. I talked about the freight optimization. But we are looking closer at the applications that you've pre-built. And, I remember a book that Tom wrote years ago talking about an ERP system, and why would we all go build our own ERP systems? But I guarantee back in the early 80s, I know we at Dow were working on building ours, and then we came across this company called SAP, and SAP built it for us. Still not an easy undertaking to implement these pre-built solutions, but it's a huge head start. So we want to look at your broader set of applications, and are already diving into a few of those.
Super. And let me just wrap. Dayan, what are you most excited about this AI business transformation? Comment on that, and I'll ask Melanie to comment on it too.
Yeah, great question. Before I answer, I am really excited for something that it has been a challenge for many companies for many years, which is, how do we collect data and make sense of that data? Again, as early as 4 years ago, collecting data and making sense of that data was a hard effort. Now with AI, we're able to collect data from multiple sources, even from drawings, and very quickly create insights. Additionally, another thing that happened in the past was it was difficult to get the workers to, number one, adopt the technology, but number two, get the right capabilities to utilize the technology that was presented to them. Now with AI, with Copilot, we're augmenting those capabilities. Now, what I'm really excited about AI nowadays is agentic AI. And Jim mentioned, the example that he mentioned about the proliferation of data of hundreds of years ago is key. Because think about it. So I used to be an operator. I have multiple manufacturing facilities as well. If we wanted to share best practices, we needed to fly everybody into a room, stay there for a week, write down what everybody is doing, and try to implement it. Now with agentic AI, we can create an agent that not only is going to help you, for example, with a digital twin and give you insights, leveraging C3 AI's capabilities about health of particular equipment, but not only that, it can tell you, hey, you don't have that particular piece in your inventory. But not only that, because they are connected also to the vendor management system, they can tell you, if you place the order right now, it'll take 3 weeks, so you better place an order. But additionally, this agentic AI that you have created will be monitoring what you're doing, identifying key areas of functionalities that you are changing within the system. And if the agent sees something positive, now you can actually orchestrate an action in which this agent can go everywhere else in the world, where it finds a similar type of equipment and proactively give those insights to the operator. Now talk about the power of data proliferation. And the other part that I'm super excited about, which Tom also mentioned in his remarks, is the fact that now we can work in a virtual environment, not only to identify insights about the systems that in our plants, but additionally, we can now make changes and test those changes virtually, rather than spending a lot of time shutting down that machine and obviously eliminating production. Key, of course, is to embrace AI from the top down, as Melanie mentioned, and that's the best way to actually realize the ROI that we're looking for.
Super. And same question to you, Melanie. What are you most excited about this transformation?
Well, having been with Dow, I'm in my 38th year with the company. I'm super excited about being able to unleash the power of our data and democratize this across the organization, where everyone can get value out of the data, and not just for their individual silo, but really looking across the company, across our internal value chain, but then also out to our partners on whether it's our suppliers or our customers on either end, what that transformation might look like in the next few years, I think is really exciting.
Super.
Looking at kind of an AI technology renaissance here.
Yeah, exactly. Well stated. And it's the vision that Jim articulated, which is an AI infrastructure across the value chain, everything from customer engagement all the way through operations, supply chain, suppliers, et cetera. And that is super exciting. With that, Melanie, thank you. Dayan, thank you very much. We're super excited about our partnership with Dow and Microsoft and making that successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.